Okay. Let's see if this works. Alright, so I can see any comments or anything like that you post on YouTube. I can also see anything that you text on here, like that. If I go too fast, let me know. This is the first image. The sky was striking pencil of children flying together, their souls entwined into the shape of a mythical bird. This was, according to the book, something that really inspired them. They took this picture and they wanted to make giants in the sky where children would explore the realm. There's a reason The Little Prince was actually one of the first collabs they did. They had taken inspiration from it from the very beginning with having clouds in the sky and all of that. There used to be a documentary, sorry. It just talked about how wings flew. I don't know why it's not showing now, but it was here. This was an overview effect from Astronauts in Space. Oh yeah, maybe. But the way they saw it was they wanted to have this view in sky. It inspired a lot of this. They wanted to have orbit, essentially. ISS. Oh, is that the office? Oh yeah. This was one of the pictures they had done up to show the children meeting the giants. I think it's the only one that's not actually in the art book. Wrong button. These were some of the initial giants I discovered, and when they were trying to figure out how to make the children's fly, they attached a balloon to one of them. This was one of the artworks they did to try and figure out the landscapes. Honestly, it reminds me of Pokemon Mystery Dungeons, Explorers of Darkness, Time, and Sky. Oh. This was one of the cooler ones. Yeah. But this one, I think they said it was supposed to be the initial for when they were initially doing the Isle. It was supposed to look something like this. They wanted freedom, soaring over grassy islands and oceans. The whole sense of it became their driving goal, like the whole reason for it. This one's one of my favorites. It reminds me of one of those little indentations in the bird's nest. I think that's what the inspiration for the bird's nest was, actually. Trying not to get lost here. They started with connections, and that's when they made the prototype to test different ways of connection, letting people hold each other's hands, letting them join up with each other, just different ways that they can include each other. Yeah, this one's a big picture. Alright, it's gonna be difficult, I'll come back to it. You gonna let me hit you now? Yes, you are. One of the original Sky artworks. Like, when Sky was already in development, this was one of the pictures they used as promotional material. I have a postcard of it. Wait, can I get color here at the same time? Okay, that's kind of cool. The first depiction of the Prairie Elder. At the time, he was going by the name Ion, I believe. Oops, wrong button. More introductions on when they started working teamwork together, making multi-person puzzles, essentially. Honestly, the artwork is just so cute. This one was a hint of what's to come with the Wastelands and Eden. Honestly, this one's adorable too. So yeah, those were the pillars, and they ended up cutting a lot of things if it didn't match one of these core pillars, so a lot of things that we have now weren't in the initial version because, well, it wasn't crucial. This one's about wonder. There is safety at its center, but darkness all around. I think we were supposed to be able to fight some of the creatures with our candles by banding together and keeping the enemies off of us. Oh, that's a person. Humanity, it was... Oh yeah, that's a good point. That was probably depicting one of the fire monsters. Humanity here, it's essentially showing the fact of this is a very teamwork-inspired game. Everything was better without the players. It was more fun to have friends play with you than playing a solo player game. And community. Feeling that you belong to a global collective that stands for compassion and altruism. This makes me think of a superhero pose, honestly. I love the capes that they had for the initial designs. But I believe they were too advanced for the initial betas that they had done. I honestly hope that they bring some of these old capes back. Oh yeah, that's definitely the Avengers. This involves the realms, the visual moves of the emotional arc. This is where you're going to find the heaviest lore in this section. Okay, so we have the Isle of Dawn. This was the initial concept. It has something similar to the depiction on the white dye section right there on the pillar there. So from the very beginning, they had a similar design for that to indicate orbit, Eden, beginning, dawn. Actually, I'm thinking about it a bit more. The colors probably represent. It is not a play button, it is, unfortunately. If it is, I don't know how to get at it. It's just part of the image. I wish it was a play button. Wrong one. Yeah. I'm starting to think that that may be the symbol for dawn. It shows up in Isle of Dawn. We might get to see these more often in these pictures. We have daily prairies here. Okay, maybe my last theory was wrong. I don't see a symbol on this. Oh well, it was worth a shot. But I love how vast the prairies were supposed to be. I love how fast they are now, but the landscape is gorgeous. The Hidden Forest was... Oh, Daily Prairies is obviously daytime. This was supposed to be a rainy time. Sort of, I think it was depicted as your teenage years, which is kind of lonely at times, hard to get through, rainy, dreary. A lot of teenagers have difficulty during this point. Isle of Dawn was supposed to be infancy. Paris was supposed to be childhood. I'm trying to remember all they said when they actually did the tour. Valley of Triumph was supposed to represent your 20s, essentially. The peak of your life, the best time, where everything is going good for you, you get to do all kinds of sports. It also represents evening, which is why it's always evening at the Valley of Triumph. Wastelands was supposed to represent your mid-adulthood, when you're starting to get older and things get a bit more dreary, things get harder. It's also supposed to represent, not quite twilight, but point before nighttime, but after evening, when things are just starting to get dark. The Vault of Knowledge was night. All the stars, everything about it. In terms of adulthood, it is when you were old, grown, your hair has turned gray, you're at the end of your life. So it's supposed to be dreamlike, almost not real. And then, of course, the Eye of Eden. It represents a storm. In the terms of your life, it represents death, finality, the end. This is one of the coolest and scariest pictures they have. All the sharp edges and everything. Yeah, it does. This was supposed to be the storm. This is when you're going through, you've met the child, you've passed that, you're going through the other part. This is you dying. It's so much darker than it is now, where it's all golds and such. This was blues and blacks. Both of them are cool. I honestly don't know which I like better. But this is before you get to orbit. Okay, we're going to come back to that one because it likes to be difficult. Yes, it was. There was a doorway at the end. You were supposed to get to the doorway. Eventually, they made it so like you couldn't survive Eden because it kind of defeated the purpose to survive it, I think. In early stages, animal guardians were sketched as mystical figures who watched over the realms. They slowly evolved into the elder ancestor humanoid characters that we recognize as being integral to the kingdom's rise and fall. Okay. We're gonna get to see the elders here. Let's see if I can get this one to work now. Nope, we're still gonna have to come back to that one. The elders we all know and love. Together, they were led by a ruler who ultimately sacrificed himself to birth a new generation of children of light. I know, I haven't been able to get to the out of bounds there, though. The Isle of Dawn represented wisdom. Actually, after you do his cutscene, he summons a bunch of birds, and those birds will lead you and follow you all the way from the Isle of Dawn to orbit. I think the only way to get there now is because of hacks. I think they closed the original way to get there with the shared memories. I'm gonna try one last time with this one. Ah, yes. Here was the concept art for Orbits. The part that led to Rebirth. Honestly, not much to say about this other than the fact of it looks so much scarier than what it does. Yeah, it is much more terrifying. Alright, let's go to the prairies. Oh, in the concept art, the Isle of Dawn, the elder there was called Daleth. They don't consider it to be canon now, but it's the names I tend to go by since it's easier for me to remember. Daylight Prairie, the elder, represented empathy. Concept art had him named Ion, or Ion, depending on how you pronounce it. All of these are from the Hebrew alphabet, I believe. We have the Hidden Forest, which represents resilience. Concept art has her listed as Teth. Again, part of the Hebrew alphabet. The art team explored the pivotal narrative moments when each ancestor would meet with the Sky Children, and what would be the most impactful way to visually capture this. Valley of Triumph. It's to represent excellence, essentially the successes in your life. According to concept art, they are called Samek. Of course, we have the Golden Wastelands, which represents courage. The elder here was originally called Sadi in concept art. Oh. That was difficult for a second. The Vault of Knowledge was to represent faith. The elder here was in concept arts called Lamed. And again, these are all letters of the Hebrew alphabet. And of course, the ruler. I actually couldn't get this picture to work when I initially was here. But the ruler represents sacrifice, showing that sometimes sacrifice is necessary to lead someone. The one here was named either Prince Aleph or King Resh, depending on what you were told or which version you saw. Different people believed they're the same person or that they're different people, father and son. Our animators introduced non-elder civilian spirits to combine quest gameplay with emotion-centric storytelling. These became ancestor spirits dotted around each realm who share their memories. Come on. In developing a backstory, we sketched out the possible life purpose of the civilization's inhabitants. What we call wax, they actually have, as a name, of mote. Mote is the substance that we call wax. They would reburn it and release the embers. It was their way of creating fire, I think. This part didn't get touched on too much other than, well, you know, the creative parts of it. Oh, come on. Mote is precious. It is a very important resource to them. More important than the crystals. It began with villagers in each realm who worshipped the soul cycle as part of a coexisting... Oh yeah, a golem-looking creature. I think it might have been a creature created to help them mine the moat. You mean the letters? I have somewhere on my phone a list of what each of the letters represents. Here it shows the differences between the elders and the ancestor spirits. They are? Golems are from Judaism mythology. I'm going to have to look that up. I did not know that. Knowing that a lot of the names come from Hebrew, that could lead more to lore. But the elders are supposed to be giants, so here it shows... Nice. Ion standing next to regular ancestor spirits. I shall definitely talk to you about religion's lore. That made zero sense, but hope you understood what I meant. The ancestors couldn't touch the embers directly. They were, of course, fire. Touching them would burn them, cause injuries, things like that. The ancestor spirits provided a snapshot of civilization's past. Their memories offer significant texture and flavor to each realm, layers of lore and discovery around each corner. Yeah. Here, I believe it's more concepts that we found. Yeah, these are spirits that were formed in the Isle of Dawn. It shows their emotes. Honestly, the little pictures are so cute. Here's the Daylight's Prairie spirits, including all of their emotes. It also has, of course, what they tend to carry around with them. Right? They're like so like it's so cutely drawn. Hidden Forest spirits, all of them. Again, they are adorable. This art style, I love it. Some of these pictures I am seeing for the first time because it was very buggy when it initially took place. The Valley of Triumph spirits. I don't know why these ones actually look cuter to me than the others. We've got the Golden Wasteland spirits. Oh, these chibi-looking warriors. Well, not chibi, but... Oh, there we are. It's easy to get lost here sometimes. And, of course, the vault. Where we actually get to see what some of them look like. Because the only time we can see them is in the constellation, and not when we're actually doing the spirits, because why not? Sorry, I'm salty over that. Yeah, I didn't... Clay figures, I was trying to think of what they looked like, but thanks for putting the words, I couldn't figure out what the words were. The wider ecosystem evolved in the constellations and life cycle was considered more thoroughly while we designed the creatures. We planted hints of how the light and the void impacted them historically in the world. Here's what the creatures initially looked like. A lot of them we still have, but they're all creatures that were dropped, like the crab, tuna 2, long-tail tuna, there was a lot of tuna. The snail, the bull, the large creatures. We still have the ancient creatures and the mantas, though. Okay, where's the other ones? Here's one. Here's more of the light creatures. These majestic creatures shepherded light back towards the stars. We designed them to elegantly move like aquatic life forms. And I guess we do have tuna. I just think of those as normal fish. Or, sorry, not life forms, life swimming among the clouds. I call them whales. I think there might be some in here, but I'm not 100% sure, so bear with me. Nope. And we head over here. In visualizing the void as storytellers, we presented its impact neutrally and celebrated both light and dark life forms for their own beauty. By honoring both sides of its existence equally, we are able to weave a richer world. No. There we go. We began experimenting with colors and shapes that could compound emotions for encountering darkness and the void. This looks like the color plants do now. The way the vines spread out. The darkness certainly looks a lot scarier back then. Right? Here's some of the dark creatures that we found. What they looked like hunting, what they looked like when they were dying, what they looked like they were dead. And then what they looked like when they were saved and freed. That the dark creatures were freed, you mean? Or keep what in mind? On the edge of the reef. Oh yeah! It does look like that. Yeah, sure thing. Once we get through here, I'll bring you there. As the World of Sky saw numerous iterations, we kept the look of the avatar open and malleable. Once we began to design characters in a group setting, we considered the harmony of their aesthetics on screen. Okay. So yeah, it's probably a dead creature if it doesn't move. Just imagine walking around looking like this. It looks like you have your brain exposed. But they were trying to get childlike while also avoiding uncanny. Yeah. They were trying to avoid uncanny valley as well. The idea that something might be too freaky for other people. This one, while they looked cute, they still had a look to them that wasn't quite as malleable as they wanted. Here's where they decided to try and go without a face. It avoided the uncanny valley. Eventually, they'd add a mask to it. Here's where they started deciding on the scarves, the capes, the wings, essentially. It reminds me of a storybook my dad used to read to me when I was a little kid. Just this child standing without arms or like hands or feet, really, just looking like a very basic drawing. And of course, we're getting closer to the Sky Kids we know and love today. Gotta love how the rain doesn't kill you here. Our goal was to make the Sky Child avatars representative of any type of player. Instead of a face, we added masks so you can choose your own expression and look. Oh, these big ones don't like me. Let's hope it decides to work. Yes! Although it was sketched in 2015, this group image foreshadowed the artistic evolution of Sky before the adventure seasons began. You can actually see what started as the Anubis mask there, among a few other masks that have similar iterations today. Complete? Did I have a daily that involved? Okay, apparently this counts as reliving a spirit. That's kind of cool. And I believe that's it for this area, unless there's some up here. Nope, it just takes us back to the start. Anyway, I shall end the stream, and we can get back to, I suppose, looking for lore. If I can remember how my controller works. There we go. Maybe.